All right. Hello, hello. I think we can get started. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the New Voices, New Rooms Children's Breakfast Panel. I am Bunnie Hilliard, founder and shop girl at Brave and Kind Books. We are primarily a children's bookstore in Atlanta, Georgia, the neighborhood of Decatur. And we are primarily a children's bookstore. We also have a few grown-up books aimed at helping us all become better humans. I am so grateful and honored to be here today to guide this panel of brilliant authors who will be discussing their beautiful new children's titles. Specifically, these new children's books shine a light on how important it is that we all, regardless of gender, race, religion, ability, perceived differences, have the opportunity to find ourselves in literature and the importance of recognizing ourselves in children's books. Before I get started, I'd like to say thank you to the publisher sponsors of this panel: Scholastic, Abrams Books, Chronicle Books, and Source Books. Thank you for celebrating and elevating these stories. Let them see you. Speaking of let them see you, once again, we encourage all of our booksellers to shout out their bookstores in the chat. And now, without further ado, let's introduce our authors for today's conversation. Christina Diaz Gonzalez, author of Invisible, a new middle grade novel, graphic novel. Christina is also the award-winning author of Moving Target, The Red Umbrella, and Thunderous, A Thunderous Whisper. Her books have received numerous honors and recognitions, including the Florida Book Award and the Nebraska Book Award. They've also been named the American Library Association's Best Fiction for Young Adults, a notable social studies trade book for young people, and the International Reading Association's Teacher's Choice. Learn more about Christina Gonzalez at ChristinaGonzalez.com. Welcome, Christina. Where are you joining us from?
I am from sunny Miami right now, so
all right.
Happy to be here.
Awesome. Welcome. Next, I would like to introduce to you today Brynne Bares, author of Black Girl Rising, a beautiful picture book. Say hello, Brynne.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Awesome. Brynne has colored the world with her pen, writing stories, poetry, and music since earning her BS from the University of Michigan and MA from Eastern Michigan University. She has taught at several colleges and universities, and her picture books include the award-winning Colors of Me and Books Do Not Have Wings. She lives in Southfield, Michigan, and we are so happy to see you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Also, and now, Ali Kamanda, one of the authors of Black Boy, a vibrant and inspiring debut. Ali is an award-winning filmmaker and social entrepreneur from Sierra Leone, West Africa. He runs Biko Studios. I hope I said that right. Biko Studios?
Yep.
Awesome. A cross-cultural film production company, and is the president of Salone Rising, a not-for-profit organization that provides microfinancing and mentoring resources to small business owners in rural Sierra Leone. Said hi. All right. And also George Redmond currently works in Buncombe County District Attorney's Office as an assistant district attorney and as an adjunct professor in South College's legal department. Ali and George are college friends, and Black Boy is their debut book.
Good morning, everybody.
All right. Welcome, George.
Thank you.
And then where are you guys joining us from?
I'm in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Awesome.
And I'm in Asheville, North Carolina.
All right. All right. And last but not least, Ashlee Latimer, author of Francis Discovers Possible. Ashlee is a writer, producer, and director focused on creating work that supports and celebrates young people of all ages. She lives in Knoxville, Tennessee, and travels as much as possible. You can find her online talking about books, theater, and Disney movies at ALNL on Twitter and at Ashlee Lauren Nicole on Instagram. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes, we're so excited to have you all. So what we'll do today is have each of these brilliant authors share their books, tell us all about them, and we will have some very poignant questions to ask them about their titles today. And we will start with Christina Gonzalez. Christina, we're so happy to have you here with us to share Invisible. Could you tell us a little? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say thank you so much, Bunnie, for the lovely introduction.
Yes, so happy to do it. We are waited with bated breath to hear all about Invisible. So if you could tell us about the book.
So yes, Invisible is a graphic novel. It's the easiest way I can tell people what it's about in just like one sentence is Breakfast Club in middle school, but all 5 kids are Spanish speaking. So that's the one sentence summary that kind of gives you the idea of what it's all about. It's, like I said, 5 kids who, just like in the Breakfast Club, each see each other as very different. You have the athlete, the brain, the loner, the tough kid, the rich kid. And they, as I said, are all Spanish speaking. They are 5 kids, each one from a different Spanish speaking country. 3 of them are recent arrivals with very limited English fluency, from none at all to just learning the language. One of them is he's from Puerto Rico, but he barely speaks any Spanish. He primarily speaks English, but the world just sees them as 5 Spanish speaking kids and lumps them all together as the same. And the story, through the pictures and the narrative, you start discovering an event that has happened, because it's my first graphic novel. I wanted to make it as difficult as I could on myself. So I start at the end. So they are being questioned about an event that has happened, and they want to find out how this happened. And so each one tells a piece of the story. So it goes back and forth in time. And as the reader discovers the story, as well as the people asking them all these questions, they start seeing them as individuals, not just lumping them together. And then the goal is that by the end of the book, the reader, as well as the world they live in, sees them as individuals, and they in turn see their commonality, because they see what really unites them. And it's not only about them, it's about being seen for who you are, because each one carries a secret. And through the story, you discover their secrets, as well as someone else in the community in which they band together to try to help. So that's the quick rundown for Invisible.
We loved it. I read the book with my son, who is 10. He's a rising 5th grader. Who would you say kind of age group this book is best suited for?
I would say primarily 8 or 9 and up. The kids are in 8th grade in the story. The unique thing about the book is, because 3 of them have very limited English fluency, most of the book is fully bilingual, because when they're speaking Spanish, because that's how they can tell their side of the story. And the Spanish teacher is in the room translating for the people who are questioning them. So whether you speak only English or only Spanish or both, you can read the same book, and the translation isn't just an outward device. It is part of the story. It is needed to convey the story. So it's very unique in that sense, and I'm really excited about it. But yeah, I would say 8 and up.
Awesome. I agree. Some of the characters in Invisible are ESL students who have varying levels of English fluency. What inspired you to write about ESL kids?
So I was born in the US. My parents are Cuban, but my parents made the decision when I was very young to only teach me Spanish at the beginning. And I grew up in a very, very small southern town. We were the only Spanish speaking family in the county. We were the county seat. That tells you a little bit about how small, when you refer to something as the county seat. So when I started school, I didn't speak any English. And I still remember that feeling of being lost. And I had a wonderful teacher. I was young, I was in kindergarten, but she made me feel secure and safe. And I remember feeling like, even though I was kind of a fish out of water, I still felt like I could belong and I was being recognized. But growing up, I never saw anyone like me in the books. And then as I became an author and I started visiting all these schools, I discovered, to my chagrin, that in some of the schools I was visiting, they weren't bringing in the ESL kids because my presentation was in English and they figured that they wouldn't understand. And that shocked me so much, so that I made it a point to always ask, are there ESL kids? I'd make sure to bring them. And then I would incorporate Spanish into my presentation and make sure to recognize them and tell them that they can ask me a question in Spanish. I'll answer it in Spanish and do a simultaneous English translation for everyone else, and back and forth. And I started realizing that they weren't being seen, even now, all these decades later, in any books. And they have their own stories to share, and they need to be included in the community. So that's really what prompted me to write it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for writing and for sharing Invisible. I would like to also speak to Ollie and George. So if we can next share Black Boy, Black Boy. Thank you for writing this book. We are eager for you to share it. Can you tell us about Black Boy, Black Boy?
Good morning, and thank you, Bunnie. Black Boy, Black Boy. Let me first start off, if I can. I want to start off reading a portion of Black Boy, Black Boy. Dear boy, black boy, rise up, it's time. It's a new day and a chance to shine. Shine like the sun, magnificent and bold. A new chapter begins, your story's untold. A story of courage that starts on this day. Courage like these men who paved the way. Dear boy, black boy, what do you see? So what kind of inspired us to get on this journey of writing this book is the thought of what is it that Black boys see in life as inspiration. It made me kind of go back to some of my experiences before I went to law school. When I was a teacher, I used to ask kids, what is it that they wanted to be? And immediately, the only two responses I would get would be, I want to be a baller and I want to be a rapper. And so in my mind, I was thinking, whatever happened to everything else? Whatever happened to being a doctor, a scientist, an astronaut? Why are we so limited on a two-track system? And so ultimately, what happened was during COVID, I was allowed this sort of time to be able to create with Ali and this sort of inspiration, this nod to kind of give some hope and inspiration that if Black boys knew their past, that perhaps they can shape their future. And so the thought was this, we can include some historical figures that perhaps aren't usually known, that maybe these boys will have a great chance of being able to succeed in society.
So I'll piggyback off that. And I think one of the things we would always like to have recognized is that the inspiration itself happened right after the murder of Mr. George Floyd. And where we experienced our sort of emotional state at that point was pretty dark. We were definitely, there was a lot of anger. So when this book started, the images and the thoughts and everything else that we were projecting out were all very dark. There was nothing hopeful. It wasn't inspiring. But it really reflected the state of mind that we were in, So we looked at it, and I mean, we ended up having to laugh about it. We said, well, who are we writing this for? If it's for kids, well, maybe we don't need to go down that path. The idea would be not about what Black boys see, but what we want them to see. And so when George, literally, he was the one who was inspired by this. When we went through all that, that was where I was able to come in and sort of transition it into something more hopeful. And for us, you know, if we could go back to the slide of the mural where the young Black boy is looking at all the faces. See, to me, this is what it's all about, because this is about representation, you know. Dear boy, Black boy, what do you see? I see many faces that look like me. Dear boy, Black boy, what do you see? I see many faces that look like me. See, representation, as we all have come to understand and should know, is extremely important, you know, especially in works that are for kids. You know, there's something powerful, there's something inspirational, there's something aspirational for kids to see their likeness in a book. And just as how Christina just talked about that just now, the truth is, for us, George and I, in growing up, we didn't have a lot of literature that reflected our lives, that celebrated our existence. So here we are as Black fathers with two amazing sons, and we were like, all right, we're going to be intentional to create something for our sons and ultimately Black boys everywhere that we hoped would inspire in them a sense of identity that they would be proud of and grow up with in confidence, knowing that they matter. And for us, it was very important that we wanted our boys to feel and know that no matter what spaces they found themselves in, they were not less than anybody. Because I just don't think for kids, you know, no matter who you are, you should never ever feel like you were less than. So, and particularly for our sons, just like any parent, you don't want your kid to feel less than. So we said, this is what we're going to do. And for them, their identity is rooted in Black history. So we really see this as a fun introduction to Black history. We kind of hope that it can be used as that door to open up for kids to start to experience that. And we believe that our story can help guide them into it. And really quickly, if we are being honest with ourselves, I think we've done this at another panel. If we were to take a quick test and say, hey, when we talk of Black history, the truth is we're really maybe only going to be referencing three main characters. At least all of us will think of three particular. And I'm guaranteeing that there's always going to be one that each of us share, you know? Mm-hmm. So we were intentional about picking characters to add to this that we believed a lot of kids did not know. So again, just to be able to open them up to this big canon of influential folks that have made up Black history and contributed to society that so many of us, myself included, you know, don't know about. We think that with this book, we actually put the reader in the shoes of history, you know, of these characters. And we feel that's the best way for us to connect with them as they take this journey so that we can encourage them as well at that age to boldly go into their own life's journey. Lastly, we'll close with just saying that every single one of us, the truth is we all stand on the shoulders of giants, you know, every single one of us. And for Black boys everywhere, we want them to know that they too stand on the shoulders of giants, you know, giants who have lived incredible lives and have done amazing things. And our hope is that we can inspire them to be proud of, you know, their past at the same time as they embrace this opportunity and this new journey when they look forward to this limitless future that's ahead of them.
Amen. I thank you again so much for sharing this beautiful story. You know, my question was, what did you hope to accomplish with writing this? But I think you have shared that very well. You know, I certainly see my Black son pulling this book from the shelves and being inspired. I know I had to look up, I learned something as well about some of the historians, the historical characters that you displayed in your book. Like, wait a minute, I thought I knew my Black history, but I had something to learn as well. I appreciate the fact that you you started out talking about, something other than kind of sports and music, but Colin Kaepernick, you presented as an activist and something that for Black boys to consider as well. And I know that you wrote this book for Black boys, but what if someone other than a Black boy pulled this book from the shelf? Kind of what do you hope that they might see and learn from this book as well?
I think two things. I owe George a lot of time because I've always cut him off. So George, you go first. You do on your first one. Like there's two things I think we could share about that.
Well, the first thought is that understanding someone else's culture allows people to have empathy and respect for how someone else may have grown up, how the background of someone else. And so although the title is Black Boy, the hope is that understanding Americans' history, right? I mean, this is our history in general. It's not an African-American history. This is America's history. By learning about history, and the hope is that they will drive some sort of thought of what is it that they can become using whatever background that they have.
Yeah, well said. So yes, it's inspiration is definitely one. The second part about that too is, especially given today's times, is to just recognize that if we can get other kids to see themselves in this story between a Black father and a Black son, what that does is that it allows them to acknowledge their humanity. And if we can do that, and if we can connect that with a story like this, I think it's, one of those moments in our own lives to where we can see kids really start to see each other. It's not going to be about that color anymore. Color is always going to be there. We need to see color to appreciate it. But you need to just be able to understand that that person next to you is a human being, just the same way they see you. And if we do that, then there's going to be less problems, in the world. I tell the story of when I was a kid, I grew up in Sierra Leone, West Africa. I used to the chagrin of my mom, take a bunch of towels. I got a lot of towels dirty. I'll tie them around my neck. I was running around the neighborhood, the backyard, trying to be Superman, jumping off stuff. And it wasn't because he was white. It was, again, just because dude was dope. Like, he was doing amazing things and saving people and all, I was like, I want to do that. So in seeing some of those, we're hoping that with some of these characters who, again, all made choices. There's nothing special about these men except that they were bold enough to make certain choices. So we want kids to see that, but not see that because of the skin color, but see it because of the man. And I think if we can achieve that, with kids especially, I think we stand a good chance of trying to really connect ourselves. And that's what I want for my son. That's what George wants for his son. And hopefully, I know that's what you guys want for your kids too. So
that's right. That's what we all want.
Definitely. It's all races. We would love that. It says Black boy, but we would love for, I want a white kid to pick this up, which has already happened. And it literally floored us and was like, hey, this makes me feel like I can do anything. And George and I are like, yes, score.
Yeah,
there we go.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
So that's what we
for
want.
everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you. All right, let's hear about Black Girl Rising. Brynne Bares. Hi, Brynne.
Hi.
Hi. I have read Black Girl Rising, and I've read all of these stories, but I was taken away. It is a beautiful story about Black girls and the magic that they hold inside. But I want you to share. Tell us about Black Girl Rising.
Thank you so much. So this is Black Girl Rising. I would like to start, if I can, by reading a little bit, an excerpt from the book, and then I'm more than happy to talk about all of the things that I was thinking about when I was writing the book. I feel like I don't know if it's this way for anyone else, but sometimes you write something and then years pass and then you feel like you're still digesting it. That's kind of the feeling that this gives me. So this is from the middle of the book. You're supposed to dim your light and never be seen. But you don't, girl. You won't, girl. You know you're a queen. Electric butterfly, you are more than you seem, more than they talk, a dangerous dream. Big guys can see the illustrations. They're so pretty. You are 1,000 curls unfurling in your hair. You are 1,000 fists standing proudly in air. You are the song of swallows lifting sun as they sing, breaking light with their beaks, breaking sky with their wings. Your symphonies of fire. In your wake, we're consumed. There's chorus in your charisma, a Black ballad in bloom. So that's what I'll share for today from the reading. Thank you.
Beautiful, magical, melodious, giving all kinds of Angelo vibes. Oh my gosh.
Thank you so much. That's very high praise, and I appreciate it. It is not lost.
Thank you. Thank you. Black Girl Rising encompasses many different facets of what Blackness is. What role do you think this plays in the narrative? Was this effort intentional to be so inclusive?
Yes, this was 100% intentional. In fact, I always try to let the illustrator kind of do their thing and feel everything. And with this, I was asked, what do you want to see? And I said, well, I want to see the Black diaspora. So what does that mean? That means that the Black experience, that Blackness is not just one thing. It's not just one person. It's not just one culture or religion or experience or aesthetic. And that was really important to me. I said, I need to see all of this in this book, if that's even humanly possible. But I think Tatiana Fazalizadeh did a beautiful job of portraying that. But I think the other thing that really is the reason that I write in the first place is because of all the names and references and nods and nuances to all of the poets, to all of the Black writers that I mentioned throughout the book, because the book is about listening to your own voice and knowing that you're not alone. So Maya Angelou always said, where I stand as 10,000. And that's essentially what this book is about, is that legacy of this has been done. Now, what will you do? Who are you? It's your job to tell the world. And so that's what I really wanted the reader to get from this. And in that, in the beginning of the book, we start off with hearing the internalization of doubt, of ideas that don't push you forward, and how you have to overcome that. That is something that is not just intrinsic to a Black experience, that is intrinsic to the human experience. Absolutely. So this book, even though it's called Black Girl Rising, because see, you have me thinking when you asked that question about Black boy, and I said, yes, that's the thing. That's the part, because literature reveals a human experience. It shows us who we are. This book is telling us and showing us who we are through the lens of the Black experience, through the lens of the Black female experience. But in that is where our humanity shines through. That's how we see ourselves. Absolutely.
I can see this book definitely plants a seed very early on to read this as a young person, to kind of have that seed of beauty and of empowerment early on. But I can also see this book for myself as a grown-up, is speaking to me as well. So, if you have read the book, then you can see some of the folks that have inspired this text. But can you share with us some of your inspiration and writing this book?
Yes, absolutely. So every book really begins with a verse and a voice. It's just, I hear something and then it just keeps revolving around in my mind. So I write it down. I said, oh, I like the way that sounds. Let me write this down. And I don't know what it's going to be yet. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know if it's going to be anything, but I just take the leap of faith and write it down. And then I keep hearing other verses. So I start to write that down. So when I actually started the book, it wasn't with that voice in particular, it was the stanza about the hair. And I thought, oh, I'm so excited, I'm writing a hair book. And then this turned out to be something not that.
Right.
But it's that element of discovery that makes it so much fun. It sounds like this. From your skin, your lips, your freckles, your fade, your fro, your naps, your dreads, your braids, your blowout, your kinks, your twists, your waves, your coils, so free and unafraid. Who gave you that crown, so wonderfully made? So that was the first stanza. And I thought, this is a hair book, and I am so excited because I have had a journey with my hair like every woman has.
Yeah.
And then when I kept writing, then the voice really began to emerge. It's like the book introduced itself to me. The voice introduced itself to me. And that's when I realized, oh, this is so much more than that. Oh my God, what am I writing? And so that's what makes it so exciting though. And then the way that these other voices kind of just interwove into the lyricism, I don't know how that happened. It just happened. I don't know how it happened, but I couldn't help but think about, Sonia Sanchez, which, I mean, she's the whole reason I did spoken word. I had the privilege of telling her that one time, and she screamed and I screamed and we hugged. I mean, it was when she wrote To Anita, it was one of the first times I saw myself in literature. Hi, yellow black girl, waking like the sun you be. That poem. Have you heard this poem? You haven't heard this poem. Hear this poem. She says, I keep this on my desk. Color have not been moved to the blackness we be about, because as Curtis Mayfield be saying, we people be darker than blue, and quite a few of us yellow, all soul shades of blackness. And I said, that's what I want in here. When I started writing the book, I couldn't unhear that verse. Hi, yellow black girl, walk your black song, because some of us be hearing your sweet music. And I said, I want that kind of beauty. I want to speak to that.
Yes. Well, it certainly feels like a love letter to a girl who needs to have that love letter, but also weaves in themes that are just human and universal, and that people can also find themselves and find that thing that we all are struggling with inside, or that we need to celebrate inside, no matter who you are. So thank you for writing and for sharing Black Girl Rising.
Thank you for having me and allowing me to share it with you guys.
Absolutely. So last but certainly not least, Ashlee Latimer. What a beautiful story. And the watercolor illustrations really make your story dance and stay with you. Can you tell us about Frances Discovers Possible?
Thank you. Yes, so Frances Discovers Possible is about a little girl named Frances who gets fat shamed at school, and she goes on to hear her Baba, use the word possible, and she wonders what that means in the midst of the sadness that she's feeling about being made fun of. And they go through the park together and explore the different kinds of things that possible could mean. And through that, she regains her self-confidence. And so I'm going to read a little section from the end of the book after Frances has gotten to see all of these different things that could be possible. Frances thought that possible would be one thing, but suddenly it seemed like lots of things. There was possible in dandelions and in scooping air into your lungs for a wish, possible in puppies, in the squishes of their tummies and how they're always ready to play. Possible like the wind, dancing leaves to a new place. Possible made Frances feel warm and big, like fat, before Tabitha made it cold and Jericho made it small. Possible made her want to take up space and share her words and wish and dance and play. Because if puppies and wishes could be possible, maybe Frances was possible too. Frances reached up and tugged on Baba's sleeve. "Baba, I think I'm ready for the swings," said Frances, and she was.
Yes, I loved this book so very much. Not only the words danced, but the colors danced. And what I really loved about it is that each child I envisioned pulling it from the shelf at Brave and Kind Books could see themselves. They could see a friend. They could see a cousin. They could see someone that looked like them, and someone that they knew. Can you share, how does your book give readers an opportunity to see themselves?
Absolutely. So that was very much an intentional goal of the book, is that, we want to make more space for kids who are like Frances and to center fat kids. But my goal was really for any kid to be able to see themselves in this book, because I think all have felt the sting of feeling bad about our bodies at one point or another. And so the hope is that kids can read the things that Frances learns, but then, like you said, they look over to the side of the page and they see themselves. We also wanted this to be a really great co-reading experience or read aloud experience. And so I also wanted all of the parents and aunties and grandparents to be able to see themselves as well, and all of the fathers as well. It was really important to me that Baba be represented as a fat man of color who is comfortable in his body and is able to pass that on to his child and make a safe space for her.
Beautiful. Well, all of these books do such a really great job of planting seeds, that stories that are diverse and stories that are inclusive and stories that celebrate and elevate our differences, just really plant the seeds that we hope will have these children grow up to change the world and make it an even better place. So I think we are coming up on our time here. I don't want it to end. I can usually tell how good a panel is by whether or not my cheeks are hurting, because I've been smiling and laughing the entire time, and they are. So thank you all for coming today. Thank you, Ashlee. Thank you, Ali and George. Thank you, Brynne. And thank you, Christina, for sharing your stories with us today. We cannot wait to share them with our readers and our libraries and have them in our home libraries as well. Thank you all, audience, for joining the New Voices, New Rooms Children's Breakfast panel. And that's it.